In the past 8.5 years, it has become clear that the authorization for the use of military force is being interpreted as carte blanche for circumventing Congress's role as a co-equal branch of government.
If our mission in Afghanistan is indeed to prevent the safe harbor of terrorists within a weak or hospitable nation, that mission is largely accomplished, since we are told there are now fewer than 100 al-Qaeda in Afghanistan.
There are only 100 al-Qaeda left in Afghanistan. Who are we fighting? Well, now we're fighting the Taliban, and that just shows you that over the course of this time, this war and its mission and its goals have morphed and morphed and morphed.
We are bogged down amidst the long-standing civil war between feuding Afghans of differing tribes, classes, and regions, whose goals have little to do with our own. Moreover, our very presence in Afghanistan has fueled the rising insurgency and emboldened those who oppose foreign intervention or occupation of any kind, who see us as foreign invaders.
What's happening now in Afghanistan, what's happening now in Iraq, you can't even call it a war. It's a foreign occupation. And you could read the Constitution from beginning to end, and you'll find nothing in the Constitution that permits or authorizes a foreign occupation, much less one that goes on for almost a decade.
There's nothing conservative about the war in Afghanistan. In fact, it goes against every traditional conservative position I've ever known.
Where does this end? Where does it end? We've already given $1 trillion to the Pentagon for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, and the economic impact of these wars is estimated to be as much as $7 trillion in direct and indirect costs to the United States.
At a time when we cannot find $30 billion to create jobs, continue unemployment benefits, or help small businesses, we need to ask ourselves, is the cost of this war worth it? Is it right to spend more money and lose more lives on a strategy that isn't working? Can we afford to turn our backs on the challenges we face at home and to pursue failed policies abroad?
We simply can't afford these wars anymore, both in the price of money and in the price of blood.
We report as killed in our two wars, 1,000 almost in Afghanistan, over a little over 4,000 in Iraq. We report around 40,000 casualties. Let me tell you, I am chairman of the Veterans Committee in this Congress. We have had almost 1 million people from these wars show up at the VA for casualties received during the war, service-related injuries, hundreds and hundreds of thousands. This is not just a mathematical error by the Department of Defense. This is a deliberate attempt to keep the cost of war from our people.
The book that's called The $3 Trillion War, and it is a book written by the economist Joe Stiglitz, and he says in the book to take care of the wounded from Afghanistan and Iraq for the next 25 years, a minimum cost of $2 trillion.
Now think about this. Our total national wealth is only $50 trillion. We've spent $3 trillion, 6% of that, 6% of that on the war in Iraq. That kind of economic damage is something that could not have possibly been accomplished by al-Qaeda himself. Osama bin Laden on his best day couldn't have done anything like that. He would have had to vaporize all of New England to come close.
We must rethink our policy. If we do not, we are doomed to failure and to further loss of American lives.
Listen, we are the most powerful nation on earth. Nobody can force us out of Iraq. Nobody can force us out of Afghanistan. We have to make that decision ourselves. But remember, we need not only strength, but we need wisdom. We need to know that the worst things that happen to us as a country are the things that we do to ourselves, including these two wars.
The rest of the world is beginning to see the folly of trying to occupy Afghanistan. The Dutch government recently came to a halt over the commitment of more troops from their country. In Britain, public outcry over the war is growing. A recent BBC poll indicated that 63% of the British public is demanding that their troops come home by Christmas. Opposition to the war in Germany has risen to 69%. Russia has lost billions of dollars in the 9 years it spent attempting to control Afghanistan.
Mr. Speaker, President Obama has said he will begin to bring our troops home next July. But he didn't say when the job will be complete.
I believe that this Congress has an obligation to send a strong message to the White House that the war must come to an end.
I do not doubt that our brave military men and women can and will achieve military successes in battle after battle after battle. But Are Afghanistan's tribal disputes going to be solved on the battlefield or at the political negotiating table? And if it's going to take a political solution to resolve centuries of grievances, then who is willing to stand at the front of this chamber and declare how many American lives that is worth?
The question is, should the United States people continue to bear the burden of this war when we have so many problems at home, with 15 million people unemployed, with millions of people losing their home, with so many people without health care, with so many people without being able to send their children to good schools? We have to reset our priorities. Our priorities should begin by getting out of Afghanistan, and then we can turn to getting out of Iraq. Thank you very much for this debate. I urge approval of the resolution.